And here we go. Here's hoping that nothing else goes wrong.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. RDAI here, and I'm here with the lovely Lilith Nightshade.
Hello.
We, it's the following day after SumiCon 2024 in Houston.
Yes.
We went there. We signed up for it about a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And it's like this is the one we're going to. Busy season's about to start up. We are not going to have another vacation, so we're going to this one. So we just kind of jumped on it. And after we bought the tickets, then we realized, oh, it's 18 and up only. So, well, we already bought the tickets, and normally, okay, so and this is just going to be just kind of our thoughts of everything afterwards, leading up to it, and just kind of the overall con experience. But to pregame this a little bit, I have not been to many cons in my life. I think I've been to maybe, not including this one, 3. One of them was like, oh, for sure, this is a con. The other one, I think it was a meetup in a trench coat pretending to be a con. And the other one, it was definitely just like a swap meet with anime. So that's my experience. Your experience, though, with conventions.
I've had several conventions that I've either been a part of, attended. I've been doing so since, this will date myself, since 2004. I've been to several different Comic-Cons across Louisiana and Texas, but also recently got to attend Dragon Con in Georgia.
Yeah, and that was pretty exciting.
That was very exciting. Most conventions will pale in comparison after going to that one. But today we're talking about TsumiCon.
Yeah, but just so we know where we stand with this, you have a lot more experience, both professionally and otherwise, with conventions. Me, I'm still very much a fledgling in that respect. So we're going to start at the top. We've got a few bullet points here. I'll throw them up on the screen. And just hope that I remember to actually do that. So, starting up, what we knew about it before going in, and this is after getting the tickets, but before we actually went to the event. Like you said, we've been to like a couple of cons together. We've been to several Ren fairs together. And one thing that all those other cons had in common, or events, was they were not strictly for adults. It was very much anyone could come, anyone could show up, anyone with their kids could be there. And I don't know about anybody else. I am not a huge fan of children. I will say that right now with my full chest. I do not like dealing or having to be around them. But that being said, going to a con where, hey, you got to be 18 and or older and you're ID'd at the front door, that is definitely going to be a new experience. So you do some digging. SumiCon, I think, originated in 2022, 2023. They're very new.
Yes.
Like, they originally had, I think, 2 conventions in Las Vegas, because they're based originally in Las Vegas, and this is their first time in Texas, was in October.
They're branching out a little bit.
Still very new. And specifically, for me, the reason why I wanted to go was because they had a section called VTuber Land where you would be able to go and do meetups virtually and some IRL with VTubers that are in the VTubing industry thing. There were several really notable names. Vexoria the Sun Eater, Cottontail VA. Those are the only 2 that I can remember off the top of my head.
Correct.
But there was like almost like 20, 30 different VTubers over the weekend. Porcelain Maid was there.
That's right.
Melody.
In Vain.
In Vain was also there. He's one of the reasons why I went. Shout out to the mob boss himself. Just gotta throw the picture of me getting my picture with him. He said so my outfit was cool.
Yes.
But
so sweet.
What we knew going in was it was an adult con.
Yes.
And explicitly an adult con.
I was a little concerned at first, because we were going into this, they hadn't posted a whole lot of previous stuff. And I can understand why. This is 18 plus. There's going to be some costumes that you cannot share on the internet. They're a little too much, especially for those kinds of things. And certain topics that can't be discussed on regular social media to a point.
To a point.
Yeah. So I think it was very difficult for them to advertise that this is an adult only con, other than just saying it's a 18 plus. So they didn't put as much out there until you get to about a week and a half to 2 weeks before. And then they started posting, here's our programming, here's our events.
I guess, but that was, I guess, kind of like, to try to keep it slightly on topic, that's one of the issues that I had, was the sheer lack of information. Because I wasn't even that worried about the itinerary. It would be just like, oh, hey, we're going to have fun regardless. Mm-hmm. But it's like you said, it was like a week before, and then they're getting their people up there. That doesn't sound like they couldn't show anything. That sounds like they didn't know yet, or they were still trying to gather people up there.
Maybe they're tying up everything.
I guess
it was right before getting down to the wire.
That, in my opinion, that doesn't come across quite right, because if you're, and I get starting out new, you're still trying to figure stuff out, but at the same time, you have to be able to tell people what they're expecting, especially knowing how cons have been in the past. TwitchCon had tons of people who were verified months in advance that they were going to be there. Other than like a few notable characters, we didn't know anything until like the last minute. And it makes planning hard, because some people don't have the full weekend. Some people only have one day, like us. We only went to the Saturday convention day.
Correct.
It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We did not go to the full thing. I don't think our aging ancient bodies, riddled with the curse of time, could have handled that.
I brought enough ibuprofen to kill a horse, but we didn't kill a horse. So
there we go. But yeah, I think as far as like what we knew going in, very little. And I will say this, if anybody from TsumiCon sees this, hire me to run your website. There needs to be more there to get people actually invested in what you're trying to push. Please. There is ways... Oh, also, organize by date, or at least alphabetically.
At least have a way to reorganize, sort something. The people that were going to show up and the events that were going to be there. It was very difficult trying to find where everything was supposed to be
and when things were supposed to be.
And we were having some internet issues, so that made it even harder to find things on the website. It would just be my opinion. I would have posted more actual, like the map that was out there for the price that we paid, because we were going to talk about prices. It was a pretty decent price.
It was like $45
they
for
could have
the
included,
single day.
Yeah, $45 for a single day. They could have included a program that you could actually physically carry around.
That would have been nice.
That would have been kind of nice.
They had it on the website, and I think it came with the email, but for people just walking up, they were SOL.
Yeah. I think that could be something. As there are some that you could scan a QR code and look it up, but a lot of times it just led you back to the website.
Yeah.
And with the internet issues being what they were at the con, there was several people who couldn't participate in certain things.
Yeah.
Because it
relied on the internet.
It relied on the internet, and the internet was spotty in the building.
At best.
Yeah.
Prices, though, single day ticket, not bad. $45 for a full day, and good hours, too. Like, by all technicalities, things started at like 10:30, 11, somewhere in there.
Yeah, you were able to get in at 9 a.m. They opened the doors to registration, and the first panels and things opened up about 11, and the VTuber land opened about 11.
And then after that, it went on until like 3 a.m. because they also had an after party.
Yeah.
which we didn't go to, but whatever. The after party I think was like another $25, which, to be honest, for full convention stuff, that's also not bad. If you just want to upgrade your ticket to that. But other days were like $35 for Friday, and then something similar for Sunday as well, because they were
25 to 30 for
they were
Sunday.
shorter days.
Yeah.
But overall, the whole thing I think was like $95 for the weekend, which again, not bad.
And that did include the after party.
And
if you
that
bought
did
the
include
pass.
the after party. They do have prices for like VIP tickets. I didn't see anything that required VIP access. I mean, other than Cottontail getting a few people ahead of time, they may have gotten the VIP access for her. But other than that, we really didn't run anything that required that kind of VIP access. Now, that being said, the website does have VIP access for certain days or the whole weekend. And then they also have their lifetime membership for, I think, at $500 right now. And for a brand new con, for the stuff that was there, personally, okay, if I had the means to make it to this con at any given point, and $500 bought me a lifetime, right now I wouldn't do it. If the next time they have a con in Texas and we go to that one and it's better than it was this time, I could see myself doing it for $500, and then I'm set for the rest of my life to go to any, no matter where it is, any TsumiCon. I feel like that's kind of okay. You kind of had different opinions on that at the time.
I will say this: $500 for a new con, going just out the gate without having that history. Me personally, I've seen some of the newer cons. They didn't start having a lifetime pass until they were 5, 10, 15 years out, down the road. One of the ones that I go to on the regular is CypherCon in Lake Charles, and I can't remember if they have a lifetime pass or not, but I do know they offer several different packages.
Yeah.
And they've been going, I think, 12 or 13 years now. They've been,
as long as I've known you, yes.
Yeah, they've been going a while, but they didn't start adding that in until they were very well established.
Yeah, so it kind of feels more like a big gamble at this point. Not saying it isn't worth it. If we could just, hey, what if we just feel like going down to Houston for the weekend, grab a hotel room, we already have our tickets paid for.
There you go.
Or if we end up moving and, oh, hey, they're having one in Portland. I don't know. I don't know why Portland came to mind. Orlando. I don't know. Can you imagine SumiCon in Florida?
Oh.
SumiCon on Florida Energy would be crazy.
That would be crazy. The Florida man jokes alone.
I think that covers con prices pretty well. Overall, I'd say it was a pretty good experience. I don't think it was overpriced. Total side note, the people at the Marriott were fantastic. Amazing.
Yeah, going back to tell you, it's like this was at the Marriott in West Chase in Houston. And all of those lovely ladies and gentlemen up at the front desk were extremely helpful.
And putting in overtime, because we didn't even put this on the list. There was and this is another reason why I think it's a gamble right now. There was supposed to be food trucks there, and there was a whole empty parking lot of where food trucks were supposed to be, and they never showed up.
Never showed.
And I don't know if they were there Friday. I don't know if they were supposed to be there Sunday. But for the whole of Saturday, there was no food trucks whatsoever. So everyone's either ordering out, having it like DoorDashed, or they're eating stuff at the Marriott.
Or they're leaving the con.
And maybe coming back.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what happened there, but that is I don't want to hold that against the con. Who knows what happened, and I don't want to speculate. But that is something notable. But again, people at the Marriott, extremely polite, extremely nice, very helpful. Expectations. This is where it gets a little more towards spicy, and we've got to use very specific language so YouTube Senpai doesn't hit us with the ruler. Like we said, it's an 18 and up con. And when we finally did get the itinerary, there were quite a few things on the list of events and panels that made my eyebrow do an ascend.
Yes.
At the very least. So expectations, I'm not gonna lie,
Honestly, I'll say this.
Go ahead.
I thought it was going to be a lot spicier than it was.
Yeah, honestly, I did too. And especially from past testimonials, because you try to find something online. I found a few people on Reddit who said they had been there. I found someone on TikTok who said they had been there. But
they'd been to the one in Vegas.
They had been to the one in Vegas.
That's a whole nother monster, having a convention in Vegas.
That
just thinking about all the different things.
Yeah, one of that nature. Mm-hmm. But all things considered, it's like you said, it wasn't nearly as like. Don't get me wrong. We saw enough cake and bun to fill multiple bakeries. I had never seen that much in person in my life.
Like, for those of you who've seen Blue-Eyed Samurai, peaches.
All the peaches, all the pumpkins, all the cantaloupes.
Melons.
Melon. Very much so. But yeah, like, there was a lot of that there, but all the horror stories that I'd kind of, like, preempted in my head, and, like, other stuff that people had said before, like, oh yeah, like, they're very handsy, they're very this, very that, especially after all the crap storm that was TwitchCon. So many things that were just uncomfortable, people doing things, and just, and honestly, people not getting called out for it until after the fact. There wasn't any of that there, and I'm gonna say this now. Try that shit in Texas. It was my saving grace, to be perfectly honest, because people just know. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I know that it does, and it's still wrong. But you get enough of us together, someone tries that, there's a dog pile for a reason. Yeah. And security, amazing. Everywhere. Security all over the place. Maid dresses and all. So
yep.
there was a lot of people there. They were very present. I didn't see anything untoward happen at all. I didn't hear of anything, at least. So I'd say that the con, as far as that aspect of things, it certainly did exceed my expectations. We'll get into a few more of the letting down of expectations farther down the road, because there's some stuff we definitely need to talk about.
Yeah.
Website and information, kind of already talked about that. We would have honestly had a better time if we either printed our own stuff or the hotel had better internet. So, is what it is, not a problem. Moving on. Sign in. Very straightforward, very good.
And the guys that were working the front end, God bless you. Y'all had it streamlined. They had 2 or 3 guys at the front that as soon as you came in, they checked your bag. They put a zip tie on your stuff to show everybody else this person's been checked. You walked to sign in. They looked up your last name. Boom, you're done. You were in the con within 5 minutes. Yeah. And they kept the lines down. Honestly, it was only 1 or 2 panels that you stood in lines for. You could show up at 10 minutes till, and you were definitely going to get in. The con, getting, like, signing in and getting through everything, they did an amazing job. And
honestly, they stayed on top of it too, because they were constantly anytime there were, like, checkpoints all over the Marriott, where if you're passing through, like, a choke point where other events and stuff is, they're always checking, hey, do you have your pass? I see your pass. It's for this day. Okay, you're good to go.
Exactly.
And even if they saw us, because we passed by several people the same time, the same person multiple times, and they were just checking, just making sure, and they were very polite about it, and they were great about it.
Yes, they checked every single time, regardless of if they knew you or they were sure. They checked you every single time. They were on it.
And they did not skimp on it either, because you had your bag that you brought in that was made out of a Trapper Keeper. I had my satchel.
Mm-hmm. They checked everything.
They didn't just glance, oh, I've already seen this. They checked everything every time. And you know what? Good on them for that. I hope they got a bonus at the end of it all or
I
something.
really do. Yeah.
Um,
We're going on the layout.
the layout.
I will say this: the Marriott, because of how spread out everything is, they had their panels, the panel rooms, and the artist alley, and a couple of the little side rooms and things were over by registration.
Yeah.
Most of VTuber land and the vendor rooms and a few of the voice actors, you had to pass through the front lobby and go to get to the other side. So the con itself was kind of split. So you had to go to registration around one side. You had to go to cut through the lobby and the restaurant to get to the other. There was like we were saying, there were checkpoints at every place you entered. They always had someone stationed there. They were double checking badges and making sure that you had the correct badge on if you were only had the day pass. That in and of itself, I think for the space that they did a really great job placing everything.
Yeah,
to where
it didn't feel crowded.
It did not.
The
And
only problem I really had...
There weren't too many choke points. There were a couple.
Yeah, the only really problem I had was... unless you were actively looking at a map and knew exactly where you were standing, it was easy to get turned around. Because none of the panel rooms, none of the exhibition halls, artist alley, none of it was labeled over the doors. And I feel like a simple sign, hey, this is panel room 1, this is panel room 2, instead of the typical names that they have at the hotel.
That is one thing, honestly, if the hotel already had a name for the room, it would be easier just to use that name of the room.
Sure, yeah, that makes absolute sense. But whenever you look at the map that was provided, it was color-coded and named Panel 1, Panel 2, Dungeon, Artist Alley, blah, blah, blah. But there's nothing for us to reference other than spatial awareness that, let's be honest, a lot of people just don't have.
I was going to say, it took us until probably after lunch. We got there at about 10:30, 10:45.
Something like that, yeah.
And it took us until after lunch to kind of orientate ourselves as to where things were. And we still got turned around at
Several
2 or 3
times, yeah.
when we were trying to find certain panel rooms.
Yeah.
That portion, I'd be a little more critical of.
Yeah.
They should have made, like I said before,
use the actual names.
Use
or
the actual
have
names,
some signs.
Print out some small maps.
Yeah.
It's like, if you
Granted,
have to,
we did get them in our email.
we did.
But for the people who are just walking up.
Not everybody has a printer.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think as many flyers and other things that were flying around that con, they could have printed some small maps. Like, just something on a small flyer you could carry around.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Events, locations, and the crowd. Okay, this is where we get to do a little bit of story time with any of our stuff, because it's we had some good times, and I want to keep the story time to something else, but just the overall, what was there, how much was there, how much was it, and what was the overall vibe of everyone, because we didn't know anybody coming into this. Normally there's some friends locally that we're hanging out with. Normally there's someone we're going there to see that we already kind of know to a degree. Personally.
Yeah, in real life.
But this time we were just going in, it was like, I'm gonna go meet this person I heard of.
Right.
So going in, first of all, cosplay abound, normal people abound. It was a good time. There was I will say, it was really funny, because we'd been in the lobby for a little while, and we're looking around, I was like, you know what, this isn't nearly as spicy as I thought it'd be. We turn a corner, go into one of the exhibition halls, and then all of a sudden, spread eagle anime in a wall. And I was like, I take it all back.
As I say, they had it in a special space, away from the main crowds.
Yeah, there was a lot. And I mean a lot of stuff there. There were plenty of artists. There were a lot of, like...
A lot of different vendors for different things.
A lot of different vendors for different things. There was a Gamer Subs. Please hire me. A Gamer Subs panel that was there. They were pretty chill. They had like a full tasting area for a lot of stuff. That was cool. There was a lot of artists doing like, they weren't enamel prints. Like, what were those large, like high quality things called? I can't remember. Not plexiglass.
I know what you're talking about. No, I
Yeah.
don't remember what they call. It looked like
They're
they
expensive
were
though.
done
On glass or something.
on plexiglass or some kind of art print that they did. It's a popular medium now to do
Yeah.
it that way.
But there was a lot of those, a lot of tapestries, a lot of blankets. Thankfully,
Enamel pin stickers,
enamel pin stickers, patches, the whole nine.
everything.
One thing I will say that, looking back, I didn't see much of, but I'm kind of thankful for it. There wasn't much in terms of just like collectibles. Like there was one bench that was swords and props.
Yeah.
There was that.
Don't-
There wasn't a lot of like figurines and stuff there, other than in VTuber land where they were like spicy statues of some of the VTubers,
And you could purchase.
and you could purchase them. So I'm kind of grateful for that because it didn't make it feel like, oh, these are like toys and stuff, and that's kind of, at least for me, because I feel like there was a more focus on art. There was a more focus on the bigger, more specialized stuff, and not just anybody could go and just pick this up.
Well, it's like that one set of pins we got. It could be a pin or a magnet, and they're kind of 3D.
Yeah,
So you can
like-
put them on like canvas bags.
Yeah,
It was a unique thing we'd never seen anywhere else.
yeah. Lots of corn.
Yes,
A maze worth of corn.
much corn.
Very much corn, and varying levels of style and quality. Oh boy, that there was a lot. There was boxes of boxes of bow tie chickens. There were straight up body pillows in yes, and they are to scale. But still a lot of just good stuff, like a lot of high quality stuff. Something you did that was really, really fun. You have that do-it-yourself artwork tarot deck that I got you.
Yes.
And I'd had the idea, what if you ask some of the artists here if they want to doodle something? And you got 3 of them.
I did. I
And-
was able to get three unique doodles from and they had from various different mediums that
And
they
art
did
styles.
and art styles. These were one of a kind works of art that I got, and I felt really special.
And it looked super cool. But like kind of bleeding into the crowd, nothing felt awkward. And for that, I'm
Yes.
very grateful. Like nothing with any of the interactions with people felt awkward at all. Everybody was super friendly, and there was just a level of, and this is a little weird to say or put properly into words, but there was just a certain level of not comfort, but there was just a certain level of relaxation amongst everybody, regardless of if they were fully clothed or they were in nothing but pasties. Like they weren't sensationalizing anything.
And I think a lot of that too, that we were able to be adults.
Yes.
And we were not having to dumb down our character or
Yeah.
outfit or whatever we were portraying to protect, the sensibilities of someone else. It's like
Yeah.
everybody who came to this convention knew it was 18 plus. They had an idea at least of what they were getting into. So there was no one making a big deal about anything being seen. It was just
Or even the topics that were going on about it. There
yeah,
was
some
one
of the
that
topics
oh,
were
Lord.
great.
There was one, we didn't even get a good look at it. We didn't stop by for it, but there was one that was supposed to be for like adult toys or something like that. It was that one that was like sectioned off.
Yes, there was one of the vendors there, and they That was another thing. I will say this for some of the spicier crowd, like the group in the dungeon
We'll
and
get to that.
the vendor that
Yeah.
had that panel, they were very strict on when the panel was going on. Doors are closed. It's whoever could fit in there. You could come and go, but that door had to remain as closed as possible, very private, very to keep. So there's some people who didn't go to the convention to see that.
Yeah.
So it was very respectful.
That's the word, yeah.
Very, very respectful of everybody else. And I've not seen that level of respect in other conventions.
Or heck, even like Ren Fair at some places.
And yes, and sometimes at the Renaissance Festival I've seen that too.
I will say that maybe this is just a one-off thing because it was in Houston. I'm going to say that Texas had a lot to do with it. But I will say they handled things extremely respectfully, and I felt very comfortable being there. So
and
that
not only,
was...
yeah, and not only that, the staff was very knowledgeable. They knew where certain thing, how things were supposed to be. I'm assuming whoever was putting this convention on, y'all had it together. Y'all kept your staff informed. Everybody knew what their job was and what they were supposed to be doing, and y'all made it an extremely pleasant experience.
Yeah. Gonna swing a little bit closer to VTuber land because that was the whole reason why I went there in the first place.
Yes.
And again, you've probably seen me already in the photos, but I'll put the photos up now. I went as Artie. I went as me. I went as the computer box head with the green screen jacket. And it was fun. And the setup for the meet and greets were primarily digital. They had the big standing... I wish we would have taken more pictures, honestly, but one of the reasons why we couldn't take pictures...
It was a television on its side. It was mounted sideways so that you could get the full...
It was like portrait view, but you would see the entirety of the character's model. Yes. And they had a camera. You talked to them with a headset. It was very fun. I got to talk to Invane. Big fan of his stuff on YouTube. The boss is freaking awesome. I got to talk to Cottontail, and that was... I'm saving that story for something else, because the whole interaction was great and ended on a very good note.
She was really awesome.
She was awesome. I wish I would have had more time to talk to more of them, but it was a lot of like, okay, we want to go and see this thing now. We don't want to be late, and we don't know exactly where it is. But
not only that, we weren't sure if we would be able to get in.
Exactly.
At the time when we were going through and seeing all the VTubers, we weren't sure the amount of people who were going to be actually going to some of these panels.
Yeah.
My experience, you get there early so you can for sure get a seat.
Yeah.
So, which even if we made it a little bit late, there was still plenty of room.
Yeah.
They made sure that there was plenty of room in the space.
Yeah.
For you to have, and they could add chairs. So that was really
finally good. On this bit, the events that were there that we either heard of or went to. Ones that we went to for sure was an intellectual study of Dami Mommies. There was a Venn diagram and everything, and I'm kicking myself that I did not take a picture of the Venn diagram because it makes so much sense. It was a fun panel. The guys up there were doing great. I don't agree with all of their choices, but it was fun. There was the NSFW game show hosted by Victoria and Cottontail that we went to.
That was an absolute blast.
That was a blast. That was those two are a hoot.
Yes, and a half.
And a half. And maybe a few extra gallons. But that was a lot of fun. There was several DJ events going on at different times. There was one going on at the after party that we ended up not going to. The meet and greets. Apparently there were 2 that were there IRL that we thought about going to but chose not to.
Yeah, 2 of the VTubers. They
were actually there in person, so that was kind of cool. There was a Beyblade tournament at some point.
Yeah.
There was a Smash Brothers tournament at some point. There was, well, in the vendor room, there was that raffle that we got involved in, and save that again for later. Yes, I'm hyping it up. No, I'm not spilling the beans. But it was funny.
It was a before, during, and after. It was a great experience.
It was a great experience. There was some stuff that we didn't. And finally there was, well, the speakeasy was. It was really just kind of a place to sit down and listen to chill anime vibes while explosions happened. That's what happened when we got there. They ended up doing more stuff with it that we didn't attend, but we definitely heard about because those two walls were thin.
Yes, that was one of the things they had that at that morning, and in various times during the day, they would just put on lo-fi music and have anime backgrounds. It was very reminiscent of Toonami.
Honestly,
when they would show the different cartoons, but it was
you know what
beats.
reminds me of? It reminds me of one VR chat room that I went to where it was just like, it was like you said, it was like Toonami in the background, place to sit down, and you're just kind of there to get away from the noise.
It was and they had that room because there wasn't too many people in there.
Yeah,
they had that room fairly cool. And it was you could sit, chill, take a load off your feet, because Lord knows I needed it. It's like I wear sensible shoes, and still
the amount of high heels that we saw just made both our feet ache after a while.
And my knees.
The sacrifice that those ladies made for the look was immense. Bless them. Bless their heels. Bless their legs. Bless their backs, and may they no longer feel pain. The final thing I think was like the dungeon. There was a lot, and by a lot, I mean I kept seeing people suddenly show up with shibari ties, lot of rope stuff going on. And that's not, I mean, it's not nothing I have against, it's just not something I'm super into. Like, it's like a, I mean, I've done photography for it, I'm not gonna lie. But it's not something I'm like, oh, hey, I want to go see this. They had other panels of names of which I will not say that kind of all seem to revolve around that, though.
Well, I went back and looked at the list for of the panels that were happening in the dungeon. They were a lot more informative.
True.
Based. As the day went on and toward the end, they got a little more fun and a little more edgy, I would say. But they started the day, and they started more for people to experience this in a safe space, especially for those that are curious and they're not sure who to reach out to or who to talk to about this. The group that was there doing the informative portion of it was very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And everything was consent based. If you wanted to participate, you could. You were not bullied. You were not forced to do anything you didn't want to do. They were very big on consent.
Yeah.
And
checking in mentally and all that stuff. And
they
honestly,
did a very good
those
job with
I
that.
wish we could have went more to, even if it wasn't for the rope play bits. I wish we could have went more to those, because the ones we did go to, those are ones where like starting up, it was like they turned the lights down. They have this whole thing set out. There's two kinds of, air quotes, machines with stuff at the end, and then there is a interact, and then there's a clock, and then there's UV lights, and then there's an interactive saddle, if you catch my drift. And the whole thing was set up to be this, it was under the term Bible study.
What was more funny was when a cosplayer dressed as Jesus was in that Bible study.
Yeah, he was there. So
it made the whole experience
it was hilarious.
So fun.
I will say this. It was a little bit of a because we stayed for a little bit and then we just kind of left, because I don't know if
we had that other panel that was happening at the time.
Yes, but 7 minutes, nothing happened, if you get my drift. They tried. Yeah, they acted like it, but Homegirl was either made out of different stuff or they didn't bring it Texas tough.
I just love they were all wearing cowboy hats at some point.
Oh, that was so. Oh, that was so stupid. It was so funny.
But it was par for the course. I mean,
I know, but
that was what they were going for. It was
yeah,
so much fun.
but
though.
the lack of reaction was just too strong. Girl,
She even said, "Is it on yet?"
oh man. But yeah, like, so they had it. It just didn't quite perform how they probably thought it would.
That could have been an electrical issue, or it could have been an item issue.
Or a genetics and resilience. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? Anyway, because you could hear it from outside. That's
could.
how loud it was.
You could hear it, yes.
But yes,
You hear it over the guys next door.
Yeah.
with their comedy bit.
Yeah, but like, not quite the. You ever bite into a habanero and then you just end up with Taco Bell mild sauce? That's what it felt like.
Yeah, it didn't. There was too much hype, not enough.
Yeah. So that's why we ditched and went over to the game show that was absolutely hilarious.
That I think that was one of the better ideas we had.
It was, honestly. That's pretty much everything that we feel like going over with this.
Or that we can say.
Or that we can say. I'm probably going to do some more stories on TikTok and hope I don't get DMCA too hard. Yeah. Because I definitely can't say them here. But, or I might just post some videos elsewhere. That wraps about everything. How do you think it went? What's your post-cons? We've been able to sleep and hydrate since then. What's between how much we spent, everything we went through, what it took to get there, what it took while it was there? What's your take on everything?
I would say it was a very successful con, even though we only went the one day. I think it was a not an overwhelming success, but it was a really good success.
Yeah,
especially for them. It was well managed. It was well put on. Everything was very well organized, and you're able to just have a good time.
Yeah.
Especially with a lot of the topics and everything going on around you. It wasn't too terribly overwhelming. And good on them, too. I didn't mention this before. They had several water stations.
Uh-huh.
And there were several places for bathrooms and changing rooms as well. Because every one of the bathrooms had like a lounge inside the doors. At least on the ladies' side. So that, you could take a moment in a quiet space and just be calm. And I think it was a really great time.
Yeah. Pretty much same for me. Like, love the atmosphere, love the selection. Everybody, again, super respectful. That goes that goes a long way. Being able to go and just, vibe, chill, hang out, look at the other cosplayers and all the photography and not feel weird about it.
Yeah.
Like, that felt good. There's multiple times I was like, dang, that is a very hot Velma. I appreciate that. Moving on. You're not like, I mean, everyone's there for the same reason. Everyone's there because they want to be comfortable in what they're doing. No one's laying hands on anybody and no one's trying anything funky. And as long as that's not happening, everything's fine.
The whole crowd was big on consent. And there was a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman I saw. Every time she interacted with someone who wanted to take her photo, she was asking, can I do this? How do you feel about this? She was very respectful and very aware that some people may not be, able to
There
handle
was no
that.
assumption at this con whatsoever.
None.
No assumption, and I think that goes a long way.
Yeah.
The only the only dislike, I guess you could say, about it was layout wasn't very clear. They probably could have done a little bit better on saying this is where this is where that is. Maybe having some actual in-person maps to help with that.
Or if not an in-person map, at least have it posted somewhere. I know the Marriott had their
They had
rooms
theirs,
labeled, but we needed one that was specific to the con. I think a poster or flyers that people could take with them would have been a little better.
One other thing that I would have said, and I don't know if this is even possible, but find some way to make it easier to get access to the internet, because your phone was great. My phone was terrible.
There were several people who had that problem.
And the Wi-Fi, because I had practically no reception while I was there, and the Wi-Fi was not free. You had to be a signed in, like, actual guest of the hotel, and that made it hard. So that would be the only real thing that I would bring up is, and again, if I don't even know if it's possible, it'd just be nice if it was.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that,
or if Marriott could have that would be something that they would have to get with the hotel, or whatever venue they use. They may not use the Marriott again. They may use a different venue. Next time, just maybe either have hotspots or have something that people, like the regular con goers, if you're going to need internet to be able to, like, some people want to use Apple Pay or stuff like that, and if there's no reception, you can't get your stuff to work. You know, and that limits people.
It really does.
That would limit vendors, in my opinion, too, if you don't have access to the internet. So.
But yeah, justice for food trucks. Missing a whole squad of food trucks. I hope we put up some missing posters and find them.
Which I find it blows my mind.
One or two I get, but all of them?
There were none, and especially on the busiest day for a con, which is always the Saturday.
It's always the Saturday.
There was none.
The
and we checked
parking lot
all
was
day.
empty.
It's like they had a specific roped off section for the Atasha, all of the cool anime cars and stuff. And then they had a second roped off section that was supposed to be where the food trucks could come in and do basically circle the wagons.
And there was nothing.
There was nothing.
That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
I've never seen food trucks just not show up.
Yeah. So. And, which was weird considering how good the con was.
It really was.
Like, I was honestly went in a little worried, like, oh, the food trucks didn't show up. What went wrong? Nothing that I can tell.
I will say this. The Marriott has some really good food.
Oh. if you're ever in the Houston area, go to the Marriott. Not sponsored, don't care. Anyway, I'd say like a 3.5.
I'd give it a 4. Honestly.
Maybe a 4. Something like that. For me, directions frustrate me. So that's probably why it's closer to a 3 than a 4 for me. And the lack of food truck, because I'm glad that we ate there. However, I did not expect that. We had to rebudget.
Yeah, not everybody could afford to eat at that restaurant. It was like $2.
It wasn't cheap. Wasn't expensive. Wasn't cheap.
If you're familiar with the Google reviews, it's like it's a $2 sign restaurant. Okay.
Yeah.
It ain't fast food prices.
Nah.
But it was worth it.
Yeah.
I would say can't remember what I was going to say. I apologize. We'll have to cut this out.
Well, on that lovely note, thank you so much for listening, if indeed you still are. We hope to be able to go to more cons in the future. This would have been a lot of fun for you to do, like, after you got back from Dragon Con. Because I would have loved to have asked questions and you just tell me your whole experience.
Yes.
That would have been fun.
Dragon Con, I think, is a future something for you and I.
Oh, for sure. There's several events that we have planned for the next couple of years that we're wanting to go to. And I would like to be able to do this for that. Do it for any Renaissance festivals we go to or anything of the sort.
This will be fun.
This will be fun. So, hope you guys enjoyed. If you're still listening, thank you. If you're not listening, I don't blame you.
That's not nice.
No, it isn't. But that they shouldn't have left.
Shame on you. Shame on you for leaving.
Yes, person who can't hear me right now. Right. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.